Alright, so I wanted to share a couple console building tips, mostly when it comes to pushing people with ramps. I think one of the biggest problems that console players make in this game is that we tend to get caught up trying to emulate what PC players are doing, right? Obviously, the vast majority of popular Fortnite streamers play on PC. They generally create a lot of the strats that we end up using, and so it just kind of seems natural that we end up copying their techniques, their strats, their motions, etc. The thing is, we use a different input than they do, so it doesn't make a lot of sense to limit ourselves to doing what they do when it may not be the most efficient way that we have in front of us. Case in point, we are using a controller. If we are not using a keyboard and mouse, why would we try to emulate keyboard and mouse movements? There's two examples of this I'm going to demonstrate in particular, as I mentioned, with pushing people with ramps. The first is the classic double wall, double ramp method that's been around for some time. More or less every streamer uses about the same motion for this one, right? You might start with the ramps, and then come down to the walls, and you kind of do this nice little circle, right? And then up and up they go, making a nice little circular motion until they've reached their objective. And that's essentially what I see console players trying to emulate, right? As you push forward, you're using your thumbstick to try and make that nice circular motion all the way up until you reach your objective. The thing is, that's not playing to the strengths of the input we've been given. Now, you can do this exact same push by not using the right thumbstick at all. You heard me right. You can do this exact same push by not using the right thumbstick at all. The gist is that you're going to be strafing left and right while alternating left and right triggers for the ramps and the walls as you go up. Obviously, I'm using Builder Pro for this. You could probably make this work on Combat Pro, but, if you want to be a masochist, that's your business. You're basically using a little bit of a strafe movement as you go up, and just alternating left and right triggers until you've reached your objective. It's honestly that simple. If you're running, it looks like this. You want to be right in the middle of your ramps, which is the best place to be anyway, so that you don't get shot. But by doing so, you just provide a nice little zigzag down the center, alternate your triggers, and there's your double ramp with walls. I actually posted about this a while ago on Reddit, but I'm pretty sure the comment got buried in that thread and only a couple people really noticed it. That is a lot simpler to do than trying to do a perfect circle every single time as you go up. Yeah, you can practice that 100 times in Playground, but in a combat situation, can you really rely on making that nice little perfect circle every time? If you can, it's probably because you're setting your sensitivity pretty low, which limits how fast you can turn in other building situations or when you're trying to shoot people. Or maybe you're a top 1% god, in which case, why are you watching this video? Avoiding that right thumbstick as much as possible avoids inconsistency, it avoids any wonky sensitivity settings that you would need to employ, and it also allows you to keep better track of your target, right? If you're looking straight ahead towards where you want to be, then you can keep track of, say, if the person decides to start building towards you, if maybe they hop out if they're getting shot from a different direction, or maybe even, you started a little bit too low and now they popped out and now you gotta, make an adjustment and keep going a different way. The reason I would imagine you don't really see PC players doing this is that you need 3 fingers to control forward movement and strafing on a PC with the WASD, which obviously limits your ability to simultaneously hit your keybinds for the different pieces that you want to use. Plus, with the ability to be more precise with the mouse in general, the benefit of doing this one is a little bit limited if you already have high accuracy with the mouse anyway. Now, if you want to be Tfue and do the whole, double ramp, double wall, double floor business, then yeah, you're going to be spazzing that right thumbstick all over the place and try to avoid giving yourself a seizure in the meantime. But if you can pull that off, more power to you. I don't know why you would unless you're scrimming against pros, but by all means, go for it. Ignore this tutorial. Now, the other pushing technique that I alluded to is this kind of tri-layer, 3-layer ramp that's been showing up more recently. This is where you're going to do 2 ramps, a wall, and a floor. The end result looks essentially like this. You've got, like I said, kind of a wall, alternating walls and floors sandwiched between 2 sets of ramps. The whole point of this is that it provides a more narrow cone of protection than your double ramps would, but if you're pushing straight towards somebody or if you're pushing over somebody, then it provides more protection than your double ramps and walls would. This essentially means they have to shoot through 3 different layers in order to knock you down, whereas theoretically, even if you're pushing somebody with double ramps supported by walls, they really would only have to shoot out the 2 ramps and then you're dropping to your death. So what this looks like in slow motion is kind of like this. Now, on PC, doing this generally involves a lot of vertical camera motion. You know, it involves a lot of this up and down movement. It involves I've seen some people who use jumping to try and make sure that they place that lower ramp correctly. But again, in the effort of making things as simple as possible, you don't need to hit the right thumbstick much, if at all. In practice, this is kind of what it would look like. There's your basic motion. As you can see in that little clip I just did, I wasn't hitting the right thumbstick at all. And then you can see there, all the way up and down, we've got that nice little 3-layer sandwich going all the way up to our target. The key behind this is letting turbo building do a lot of the work for you. As you may have noticed, I'm only doing 3 button presses. So I'm holding ramp by default. I'm going to put the wall up. As I'm going up, there's a little sweet spot where you can see it wants to place the ramp lower anyway. And it's a pretty small window, right? Let's see, from the moment it shows up is about there, and then as I inch forward, boom, it's gone. You could try hitting that manually if you really wanted to. If you have your own rhythm, it's probably not going to happen consistently. If you hold down turbo building, if you hold down that ramp button, it's going to build both of them regardless. And then at this point, you only have to worry about putting down the wall and then the floor. You want to make sure you put down that floor early, because if you notice, once you go up a little bit, it's going to put this floor above you, and then now you've gotten yourself stuck in a prison of your own making. The key is kind of keeping your camera in that nice little sweet spot that's looking kind of straight ahead and then a little bit down. You know, right about there is good. If you're looking too far up, it's not going to build this bottom piece. If you're looking too far down, it's not going to build the top one until you've already gotten past the point where you could run up it in one continuous motion. It's going to take a little bit of practice and figuring out for yourself to see, you know, getting used to positioning your camera, but once you do, you're good to go. As far as actually pressing the buttons goes, I like to do this with my index finger on the left bumper and my middle finger on the right trigger. Initially, I was doing it by just using my index finger. I would press the left bumper for the floor and then kind of just roll it over to the right trigger to put the wall. I found the 2-finger method to be more consistent. You could certainly pull off just using one. If you were so inclined, it might just be my controller. It might just be a little bit past its prime. But either way, limiting that right stick movement yields more consistent success. So these are just 2 examples, but the point is that we have to work with the inputs that we've been given, right? Console meta is already a little bit different from what we see on PC, so we shouldn't assume that our building strats and techniques and motions and etc. are all going to be the same either. Don't copy what PC players are doing just because they're really good at the game. They're using a different input than you are. play to your strength. I will probably regret posting this because nobody has really been pushing like this on console yet, despite how mature this game is. But if people start pulling these things off and having more exciting build battles, then I think that's overall better for the game, right? Anyways, that's all I got. Thanks for watching.